Some of you are probably waiting for my full review on the RGB30. That's still coming, don't worry, but I gotta get this video out. So if you're new here and you haven't seen any of my keyboard stuff, welcome. NuPhy, you've probably seen them around, you've probably heard of them. They're known for their slimmer, lower profile mechanical keyboards, a lot like the Air 60 V2 that I reviewed a couple months back. But NuPhy has also been dipping their toes a bit in the custom market. And just last month, they launched their new line of Gem80 mechanical keyboards. It's a 10 keyless keyboard with a standard 10 keyless layout, other than the fact that there's an F13 key on there, which is pretty nice if you have a use for it. Full disclosure, NuPhy sent me everything you see in today's video, and I will have affiliate links, but that does not affect my opinion in any way. It's not a paid review, it's not sponsored, I'm not paid to make this video. They just supplied me with the stuff to put it together and form my opinion. It's $149.95 for the wired version, $169.95 for wireless. It's available in Obsidian Black, Cosmic Mocha, Airy Lilac, Inca Rose, and the one I have here, Mystic Indigo, which I can only describe as like a metallic blue. The case itself is pretty heavy. The top is metal and the bottom is a transparent plastic to match the color of whichever one you're getting. Inside the box, you're gonna get the keyboard, a couple instruction manuals, some extra gaskets, which I'll get to later, a screwdriver, a gray NuPhy branded keycap and switch puller, and a matching coiled USB-A to USB-C cable. Oh yeah, it also comes with a wireless USB dongle and a plastic dust cover. It has a center USB-C port along the back, as well as a power switch and an OS switch, so you can use it for Windows or Mac. The toggle switches are actually mounted under the lip of the top of the case, which I kind of like. It kind of hides them from view, even though you can still see the markings on the bottom case. It also has a pretty sleek looking power LED above the escape key, and the Gem logo badge on the right side of the board has a band of RGB lighting around it, which I think is a really nice little touch. And the PCB has south-facing LEDs, so this is going to be just fine with basically any profile keycaps. Now to be clear, this is a bare bones kit with no keycaps or switches, so that starting price of $149.95 does not get you a fully constructed keyboard. This is dipping into that custom market, so you're going to have to supply those for yourself, or you can spend a little bit extra to get them directly from NuPhy. I recommend doing that because these switches and keycaps are actually pretty good, and if you get them with the board, you're going to get them for a pretty steep discount. They sent me these lemon switches, which are a factory lubed tactile switch. Not the most tactile switch I've ever used, but they are quite pleasant to type on, especially with this keyboard. A full set of 90 switches is more than going to cover this whole keyboard, and it's only going to cost you an extra 15 bucks if you buy it with the board. You also have their option of their mint switches and raspberry switches, or their silent red clear top switches for $25 extra, so they'll kind of follow this similar theme and are all factory lubed. In fact, a couple of them do come pre-installed on the board, and I've got to test out a couple of them. They all sound pretty nice. I really like these lemon switches though. Really, any of these are going to sound pretty great on this board, unless of course you go for the silent ones, in which case, I mean, they're silent, so they're not supposed to sound good. They're just not supposed to sound. That's how silence works. These switches were designed for the Gem80, but in case you're wondering, yes, you can just buy them on their own and use them on another keyboard that's compatible with 3 or 5 pin switches. The keycaps available are also quite nice and also a $15 add-on. These can also be used with any other cherry stem switch, so if you want to use different switches for this keyboard but you want these keycaps, that's totally fine. Or if you want to use these keycaps on another keyboard, that's totally fine as well, but they do have some sub-legends printed on there that are made specifically for the layout of the Gem80. So again, this is a bare bones kit, and it's one that's designed with beginners in mind. It's essentially ready to go out of the box. Everything is already assembled, stabilizers are installed and lubed and tuned very nicely out of the box. By default, it comes with an FR4 plate, but you also have the option of adding on an aluminum plate for $15 or a PC or palm plate for $12. Unfortunately, the main downside there is that if you want to use one of those other plates, you have to basically take the entire board apart, including the pre-lubed, finely tuned stabilizers, and basically just deconstruct this thing in order to put on a different plate. NuPhy did send me one of each of their different plate options, but I actually prefer FR4 for tactile switches, so I'm just gonna leave it as is. What I am going to be changing is the gaskets. This board offers multiple methods of gasket mounting, as well as different hardnesses for a couple of them. You've got your gasket sleeves, your gasket nubs, I forgot what they're called exactly, and your gasket beans, which I've been a fan of in the past on a board like this one here that you see on the screen. I forgot the name of it, but it's one of my favorite boards, and I really like the beans. Give me all those beans. These should alter your typing experience as far as flex or stiffness. This is going to be more affected by what type of plate you choose to use, as well as the dampening materials you choose to keep inside. It has plate foam, a switch pad, a sound dampener as it's called in this photo, 2 different PCB foams, and some silicone at the bottom of the case, which is going to match the color of the keyboard that you choose because it'll be visible through the transparent bottom. So if you're really going for that marbly sound that a lot of people like, this is going to do it. You will need to open up and take this board apart if you want to remove any of the layers of foam. That will help with altering the sound a bit if you're not after that marbly sound. For somebody with more particular tastes, it might be a little bit more annoying and time consuming than it would just be to buy a custom board that is completely unbuilt out of the box instead of having to go through the process of disassembling before you assemble. The upside here is the price and the availability. This is supposed to be readily in stock, and you're not going to be limited to group buys or stock drops like custom boards will have. NuPhy did also send me this matching wrist rest. I've actually featured this a couple times before, well, a different one, the black one, but they have a bunch of new color options available to match the color options available for the Gem80. And the metallic blue accent along the edge of this thing, along with the little engraved logo in the metal there, well, it just looks nice. It's frosted acrylic and the color part is metal. It's a nice complement to the board, and it's an additional $35, or you can choose one of the wood options for $39. I recommend picking it up for gaming, as the front angle of the board is fairly high, so if you're going to be resting your wrist on this thing while you're gaming, you're going to need a good wrist rest. By the way, there's no height adjustment. Probably could tell from the shots of the bottom of the board, but there's no height adjustment on this thing. There are also desk mats available for $24. I don't have any of those to show here, but they look nice, and the color options match the boards as well. Back to the board, I am loving this thing. I'm mainly using it every day in Bluetooth mode with the little accents of RGB lighting on, and the battery life has been pretty good. I've only charged it maybe about twice in the month or so that I've had it. RGB lighting has not been turned off either. If I were to turn that off, it would probably last quite a bit longer, especially since I'm using it in Bluetooth, which uses less power than the wireless dongle. The F and J keys on this keycap set also have transparent homing bumps so that the lighting comes through. There's even a setting so that only those 2 keys are lit up if you want. You can adjust your lighting in the software, or you can just use the function key and arrow keys over here to do some adjustments there as well. I am having one issue, and I don't know if it's a problem with the PCB or a couple of the switches or Windows 11 for all I know, but it only seems to happen with this keyboard. Sometimes I will get a double key press, and it is quite annoying. It's mostly been the space bar. I'll be typing and I'll hit space and it'll do a double space instead. It's random, it's not something I can replicate at will. In fact, while writing my notes and script for this video, it probably happened like maybe 3 times in this whole thing, which is more often than you'd probably want. It's not happening like every few words, is what I'm saying. If you pick this board up and you're having the same issue, let me know in the comments. I'm pretty curious to see how common that may be with this board. By the way, this is compatible with QMK and VIA, which is quite nice. I'm just happy to see so many keyboards lately adopt QMK and VIA. It's much more commonplace than just in the custom market. It just works, and it's really easy to use once you get it set up. It is a little bit of a process depending on one or the other to get it set up, but once it's done, you're basically set. You're going to want to use this to control your lighting, change your keys and layers as you like, especially that F13 key, and you can set up macros and whatnot as well. My favorite thing about this board is just how easy it is to take out of the box and use, after you add switches and keycaps obviously, but still. I was ready to have to build this thing, which I'm just kind of over building keyboards, I'm not gonna lie. So when I saw I could just pop in the switches and add on the keycaps and it would be ready to go and sound great within a matter of minutes, it was a nice little breath of fresh air. If you want to just buy a keyboard that you're gonna put on your desk, pop in some switches, pop on the keycaps, plug it in, it's gonna sound great, it's gonna work, all that stuff. This is a pretty great option. Well, that's all the time and energy I have for this review, so thank you guys for watching. Thanks again to NuPhy for sending all this stuff out for review. Again, it will help the channel quite a bit if you would be so kind as to use my affiliate link to purchase anything you see in this video, whether it be the board or maybe just some switches, maybe just some keycaps, whatever you want to do. And maybe you don't want to buy anything at all, you don't want to spend any money, but you still want to help the channel. Well, it's really easy. All you gotta do is like, leave a comment, subscribe if you're new, share the video with a friend, share the channel with a friend, watch other videos on the channel if you would like. I've been doing a lot of these handheld reviews, and I'm probably going to be doing quite a bit more of those if I can for the foreseeable future. I've got at least 3 more of those videos lined up for the coming weeks. So, alright, I'm out of here. Here's another video you can watch. And I never know how to end these things. Other than say I don't know how to end them. Been doing this for 9 years almost. Okay, I'm out.